Let me know if you relate to this. You try a new hobby. For me, that hobby has been sewing. And at first, you work hard and make one or two really cool things. For me, that really cool thing was this corset. I spent a lot of time on it and it felt kind of amazing when I finished it. And everyone told me it was so cool and they were so impressed. And I was like, oh my gosh, I am so good at sewing. But then, and hopefully this is not just me, all of the things that you try after that amazing first project just do not go as planned and end up turning into complete dumpster fires. Well, here are the things that I tried to sew this summer on a scale of did not go as planned to complete an abject failure. Part 1. A solidly mediocre attempt at an adequately historical costume. Rating projects on a scale from 1 to 5, where 5 is mediocre and 1 is abject failure. So we'll start out pretty solidly mediocre with this Bridgerton costume and my first attempt at a full dress pattern. I made the blue/green underdress from a sheet and some vintage buttons, and the overdress from a curtain and also some vintage buttons. And because I'm cheap, I didn't use a historical Regency dress pattern for this, but decided to use a dress pattern that I already had from the 60s instead, that my mom gave me. I chose the 60s pattern because it has the iconic Regency Empire waist, but it is lacking other crucial historical details I found out after starting it, like having the sleeves pulled back more, and it also has a zipper, which a Regency dress would not have had. So this project definitely loses some points straight away for historical accuracy. But as a sweet aside, my mom used this pattern to sew the bridesmaid dresses for my aunt's wedding, so I guess it does get points for being a sweet memory. But there are a couple things that I like about this costume. First, I love this detail I added with the trim around the collar that I put on the blue dress and how it shows beneath the outer layer. But definitely my favorite part of this outfit is the outer yellow breakfast cloak thing that I sewed to go on top of the green dress. If you know what to call this outer thing, please let me know in the comments. I don't know what it's called because I just saw someone wearing something similar in a Regency costume video on YouTube. And so I just tried to create a similar effect by using the same dress pattern I used on the base dress to create the bodice, and then just attaching the top of one of the curtain pieces I had to the bottom of the bodice, because I really love the way the already existing curtain ruffles looked, and I thought it was a super interesting detail to keep, and I think it kind of made the outfit special. I did have to switch the pattern though, because on the original pattern, the buttons are on the back of the dress, and on the overcloak thing, they are on the front. I struggled with making this change a lot because I didn't have a pattern to follow and because I'm not a great seamstress. And then once I did that change, which I think I did a pretty good job on, I still had to decide how I wanted to attach it in the front. Keep in mind that I'm not very good at making buttonholes yet, and basically I was afraid that if I did buttons, I would place them weirdly and ruin the bodice if I cut the holes in the wrong spot. I had done a lining for this and I had limited curtain material, so I wasn't sure if I would be able to make it again if I ruined it. And I was also worried that I wouldn't sew the holes very neatly. And one final thing is it's right in front, so I knew that any mistake I made there would be super prominent and ugly. So I decided to try hooks instead. And so here I am sewing those, but they ended up kind of not working at all and being weird and lumpy and also not holding together. So I tried snaps after that, but those did not go well either. They didn't hold well, they didn't look good. So eventually I realized I didn't like the look of any of the other options I had tried, so I just undid all that work and decided to try buttons after all. So because I didn't have a pattern, I spent a lot of time trying to make sure that the holes I was going to cut would be in the right place, measuring and doing whatever weird stuff I was trying to do with the tape here, and also attempting to math it. But I kept getting confused and not getting the math to work out, so I ended up kind of eyeballing it anyway. In the end, the buttonholes were not perfectly even, but I don't think most people would be able to tell from looking at it. And as for sewing the buttonholes, I did practice before cutting into the bodice and I got a little bit better, but if we're honest, that didn't really help a ton because I ended up with some pretty atrocious buttonholes anyway. If you have any tips about that, please let me know. I'd love to get better at buttonholes. But honestly, it could have been a lot worse considering that I just really went off and did my own thing here without a pattern or anything. So yeah, count your blessings, I guess. I could have done a better job all around on the construction of this outfit. I had to resize these puffed sleeves and I just tried to eyeball the measurements for those and they didn't end up fitting very well at all. And also I did a pretty messy job on the zipper. I have since found out that you can do a much better job with a zipper foot, but at the time I wasn't super familiar with zipper feet, whatever you call them. And so I have this pretty messy zipper. Also, you can see that even though this dress has been worn one time, the buttons are already coming off of this green dress. And actually, when I first wore this, I think because I had to finish it really quickly for a Bridgerton party, I initially tried to use hooks instead of these buttons in the back. And so the dress kept falling off while I was wearing it. So that was not great. I did replace those hooks later with these buttons, but as you can see, I didn't do a great job and they are also falling off. So I think it would be fair to give this one a 5 for a solidly mediocre attempt at my first real dress, i.e. not an apron or a wrap dress, which I do not think that apron or wrap dresses are real dresses. And I have strong opinions about that now, what is a real dress and what is a apron masquerading as a real dress, but I'll probably talk about that in a different video. But anyway, I'm pretty proud of the outer robe just because I kind of drafted it myself, which is pretty cool. But yeah, as you have seen, there's a lot of room for me to improve both with zippers and buttons and also the trim that kept coming off and overall just being neater with my sewing. But yeah, I think it was solid. It was a solid attempt.